What's going on, everyone, and welcome to Practically Tactical. This is our live show streaming to you on YouTube, but you can catch all of our shows on iTunes or Stitcher in a podcast format. New episodes drop every Sunday. For those out there watching on YouTube, we thank you for joining in and watching us. We're going to be talking about some awesome subjects today. So if there's something that you come across, something you want to know more, please put your questions or comments into the YouTube chat or the Google Q&A app, and we might stop a couple times and answer some of your questions or comments and address those. So please, I encourage you to put those into the chat or the Google Q&A app, and we'll be sure to answer those. Also, please click like and share on this video as well. That would greatly help out spread the word about the show around YouTube. Have an awesome show for you guys tonight. We have back on Rich Graham from Trident Fitness Tactical. He was previously on episode 36. If you want to know a little more about his history. So, Rich, thanks for coming back on.
Appreciate you having me, man.
And then I gotta thank Rich on this too, and we'll get in more into this too. But he has an awesome guest down visiting, and since we're gonna talk about canine stuff, and he was like, "Hey, I actually have this guy here who would be great to come on the show," and so we have Josh from Baden. I just want to make sure I'm saying that right. Baden K9.
Yep.
Awesome, Josh. Thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Good to be here, brother.
So we're going to talk a lot of canine stuff on tonight's show. This is going to be a really interesting show. If you guys watching on YouTube, the links below to both of these guys right here, websites, Instagrams, Twitters, Facebooks, all that stuff is down below in the description comments. So please go visit their website, to like them on social media, and follow them. And again, the links are all in the description box below. Also, let's see here. Oh, show notes. None. So if you guys are ready, let's go ahead and start the show here.
Yeah, we're good.
Welcome to Practically Tactical, episode 61, brought to you by the Firearms Radio Network. The Practically Tactical show is a slightly more practical approach to the firearms lifestyle. The show features a roundtable discussion about guns, gear, and shooting with some of the best firearms instructors and figures in the firearms industry. So, Josh, you've officially made it. I just said it right there. You've made it. For more information on the show, links to our guest guns and gear we discussed, please visit practacpodcast.com/061. So I have an awesome episode for you guys. On this episode, we're going to be talking canines and canines in home defense and some subjects kind of near around there. But we have on two awesome guests here. We have returning guest Rich Graham from Trident Fitness Tactical, and we have Josh from Baden K9. Thanks for coming on tonight, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. So for everybody out there listening on podcast, again, please visit the website. I have all the links to these guys on the actual show notes, and check them out. They got some really cool pictures doing some really awesome stuff, so again, please check that out. One show note before we start the show. I mentioned it on last week's episode about the 3rd annual Shot Heard Around the World held up in New Hampshire. Again, there's a link in the show notes. Be sure to check that out. They've added a bunch more stuff there. Warrior Culture gear is now involved in that. Breakthrough Clean, Alex and Ryan Design, and then they're also doing a fundraiser for Wishes for Warriors up there as well. Again, Rob Pincus is doing some free training up there. They're doing some intro to 3-gun classes up there. Twin State Hydrographics and Cerakote's going to be doing some giveaway. Whole ton of stuff going on there. Link in the show notes, so when you have a chance, check that out, and if you can attend, please do. They're capping registration attendees at 200 people, so check that out. But let's go ahead and move on to the show here. As I said, this is going to be a really unique and interesting show. Obviously, Rich has been on here, so Josh, I'm going to hit you up first. Tell us a little bit about you and kind of how this the canine thing all came about.
Yeah, so just a little about us is we're a small Christian family-operated business based out of Canada. We deal with military, law enforcement, and family home protection dogs. So we're, there's about 65 dogs on the facility. Dutch Shepherds, German Shepherds, and Belgian Malinois are the main specific breeds.
You guys breed dogs, train them, trying to do everything involved there.
Breed, raise, and train them.
Okay.
Yeah, right from pups up. So we have we start them at pups, and they range anywhere from 6 weeks to a year old.
Okay. Then we also have on, again, Rich Graham, who was previous on episode 36. Again, another Christian company with Trident Fitness Tactical. Rich, thanks for coming back on and kind of getting Josh on the show here too, because this is kind of I think it's going to be a really obviously unique episode.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. It's good to have him here, especially if you guys are going to talk about canine stuff. Might as well go to the source, right?
Yeah, that's right. So before we start here, last time you were on, Rich, you were working on opening up a new shop. How's that going? What's kind of the status on that?
It's coming along awesome. We're opening up, so the Trident Fitness Tactical, full spectrum warrior program that we've been doing around the country, doing health, fitness, martial arts and combatives, and firearms training. We're trying to pull it all together and have it under one roof and one training facility as our home base. So that's what we've been working on. We have a building that's about 14,000 square feet that right now we're going through the processes of building it out and getting ready to do the launch. So it's coming along great. We've had a lot of veterans groups and people from the community coming out and volunteering their time to help assist us with laborsome tasks that they're generally simple, like painting and power washing and all this kind of stuff. And we've gotten awesome support from the local community. It's been great. It's been a lot of work because it's such a big building. So we're really excited. We're hoping to launch it in potentially do an official grand opening hopefully in May.
Okay, and that's based in Orlando, right?
Yep. It's right downtown Orlando, just by the stadium, the Citrus Bowl.
Okay. Well, that's awesome to hear, and please let me know when that opens up, and I'd love to share that out there. I'm sure there's hopefully we have a lot of listeners down near you, so we can keep them up to date.
Good deal.
Yeah, so last time you were in, Rich, we didn't get to the canine part because obviously for those that follow you on Facebook or Instagram, if you're not following on Instagram, make sure you do. You obviously been involved in the canine stuff. So before we kind of hit on Josh here of the we'll say matriarch here of dogs, how did you kind of get into this? Is this something that come from your time in the Navy SEALs, or just something that you kind of came across afterwards? How did the canine aspect of what you do how did that start?
Interestingly enough, it actually came from one of my clients. One of the families that I was doing home protection for, or home protection training and consulting and stuff like that, they had one of the Dutch Shepherds, and it was actually from Baden K9. And when I saw what this dog was capable of doing, really what totally impressed me was we were at this guy's house and he had his dog climb a roofing ladder onto a 2-story roof. And that was incredibly impressive. And he was having the dog walk across the roof, jump up on the chimney, all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, are you kidding me? And then I'm like, how do you get the dog down? He's like, oh, we'll just have him climb down. Hey, come on, let's go, down, climb. And the dog climbs down the ladder. And I'm like, get the hell out of here. Like, I didn't realize dogs could do that. Where'd you get this dog from? And then he was telling me about Baden K9, and I was really intrigued by it. So he's like, you ever been in a bite suit? I was like, no. He's like, do you want to? I'm like, yeah. I started volunteering to support a lot of his dog training. I met Josh on a couple occasions when he came down to New Jersey. That's where we were at the time. And just sitting on some of the training or help support some of the training. And Josh and I kind of hit it off as far as their philosophy for canine training parallels my thought process for the firearms and combatives training. So it was a good we just kind of meshed from day one, and from that it was cool coming from the SEAL teams and then getting out and then always being in the instructor role. The dog stuff was really fun for me because it was similar to I could relate it to the stuff I did in the military. But at the same time, it challenged me and put me back into a student role, which for me, I really enjoyed. I love training and I like teaching, but I also love being a student as well. So for me, it was a great growth process for me to take part in, of learning how to work with these creatures and their capabilities, and kind of pulling them out of the dog and pulling them out of me as well. So that's kind of how that all came together.
So Josh, when you saw Rich, you immediately thought, this guy right here maybe has a little bit of potential. He could probably be a really good guy to be, the guy that gets in the suit, right? Like, obviously he's overachieving now, right? But when you saw him, you thought, man, this guy right here has some potential to be that guy, right?
Everybody gets in the suit when they come through the gates, brother.
So what is I mean, you kind of talked about what Baden K9 does. So what's the history on on Baden K9 on was it generally how did that, was it kind of like an accident kind of start thing, or was it you kind of had dogs and trained them, then somebody came to you, or a police department or military came, and how did that start?
So the history is my dad's watching now, so I'm gonna the history is I will say it's a veteran-owned company. So the history behind that, my father, basically was looking for a path, which is in the book, My Years with the Dog Man, and was mentored by a German canine handler out of World War II. So in My Years with the Dog Man, it basically goes through all that, and so from there, my father, with the dogs and the breeds, the herding breeds, the German Shepherds, the Dutch Shepherd, the Belgian Malinois, worked them, was mentored under the gentleman Gunther, and as I was around him, obviously there's numerous brothers, but I took interest to it. I didn't do well in school, not to get too in depth with that, but I took interest in the philosophy of the dogs and the training, and was mentored by my dad, and got into it really early. And obviously 9/11 hit. Our company, like many canine companies, took a big turn to support the role in the Middle East, including myself, active, and all with the dogs operationally, and not just in the Middle East but abroad. So we went, all over the globe, Africa, Central South America, all the countries, and not to bring glory to that, because a big part of our business is the family home protection program. We deal with the law enforcement, we deal with the military, we deal with the aggression dogs, that the normal citizen that just has a mastiff breed that it's last chance or it's going to be put down. We deal with a lot of that stuff, but so when Rich came along and came into the business with the need for a dog, I think personally, a lot of this stuff is, it's not as veterans move. We've recently, donated a dog to the Navy SEAL Museum as a mascot, Mika. That's the reason why I'm in Florida right now, is to come down and finally get to see the museum, along with Trident Fitness and Rich, and then another, just to plug it out there, another Navy SEAL and his family got a dog donated by us, and these people there's a need for them. So I think Rich came with a need. And you can answer this question, brother. And then from there, the dog, and the companies, and the two companies with the dog as our mascots, just married well together. We're, like my dad says, just a bunch of broken toys that can do a lot of cool things with dogs.
Yeah, one of the cool things was when I came and started training with them, I didn't know anything about the canine stuff, so I was a clean slate. You know what I mean? So I didn't argue the training philosophy. I didn't argue where they were coming from, because a lot of it made sense from a combatives and personal protection standpoint. Unlike some of the, I'm not here to knock any other training style or whatever, but there are some training styles out there that, to me, just like we were talking about in the firearms industry, there's certain training methodologies that when I look at it, I go, well, that doesn't really make sense to me. That's fine in some cases, but you get where I'm going with this. So their philosophy lined up with what I thought made sense practically and tactically. That's funny.
There you go.
Your thing. So anyway, so with that as a clean slate and having an understanding with the background from the military, all the things started falling into place, and the dog that I had that that people who follow our company know as War Beast. That's not actually that dog's name. I wouldn't name my dog that, but it's just the nickname that I got. So that dog, we started people were asking if we could, do the Navy SEAL demonstration for these charity events, and it was like, yeah, dude, we can throw my dog in there, and we would come and do these demonstrations, and the one demonstration led to another, to where we're now supporting the Battle Frog events. We're supporting Navy SEAL Museum, the NSW Kids, the Navy SEAL Family Foundation, the Navy SEAL Foundation. So we're doing a lot of, we're utilizing the dog in a lot of areas to support these different, charity organizations. And this is what led us into the context of linking up and teaming up with the Navy SEAL Museum and donating them that mascot. Because people really, when you go to these events, people really connect with the dogs. And, it's just been fun, doing the stuff that they've taught me, and then having the opportunity to be put in a position to test the philosophy, via working on rappel towers or rappelling out of a helicopter, fast roping, doing all this, what the typical people who get these dogs don't get the opportunity to actually test these theories or these training techniques. I've just been in the right place, the right time to actually test these theories, and they've worked. And the progression with these Baden dogs has been proven, over the past 3 to 6 years. Taking what they've taught me and applying it. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, if you can hold up the book again there, I want to make sure that we get it on camera.
Yeah.
Got that.
My Years with the Dog Man. So, and that is your book right there?
That's my, I'd like to claim it as mine, but I won't. It's 3 books. He's got a couple more on the go. He's looking at me right now. But if you just go on, on the Facebook page or the website and all that, it's they're all on there.
Okay. Well, so let's move into, obviously we deal with firearms on this show, and some people, and again having a firearm, and we talked about this when Rich was on too, in more of the personal aspect of, just because you have a gun, that does not make you invincible. That's only part of a whole plan. The world is, to quote Tatya, the world is 360 degrees, train like it, plan like it. So when you're looking at like a self-defense in regards to for a dog in regards to home defense, and somebody can tell on this first here is, do they just go out and buy a dog? Should somebody, if it is I want to incorporate, part of my home defense plan is getting a dog that is a critical part of that. Should they just go directly to you guys? Should they get a dog and okay, we need to get minimal amount of training before going to you guys? What steps would you say that a person should do?
For us, obviously, when not to keep bouncing back and forth, but in the civilian mindset, law enforcement or military, if you're not carrying any baggage with you, then it makes us easier to brainwash you, right, with our philosophy, so to speak. But it really, to us, it doesn't matter, because what we say has to be demonstrated, and so if somebody's coming for a family home protection dog, which is something we take, using the word pride loosely, pride in. Everybody likes to, the claim to fame is a law enforcement dog, no offense law enforcement officers, or the military dog, no offense military personnel, but there's a lot of politics involved in that stuff, right? So our business is the claim is the family package. So yeah, they can come to us, fixed or broken, or a lot of knowledge, a little bit of knowledge, and just basically call us up. And then it works very simply. There's, depending on the level of training that the family purchases a dog, we service them with the training package. So a family protection dog comes with a training package included in the price. So whether we come to you, or you come to our facility, or obviously to now the compound, but it's a really simple process. And then there's follow-up training and maintenance training that's involved with it. I mean, it's a life-changing commitment. It's nothing that shouldn't be taken lightly. It should be discussed with the family and all that. But it's you know, it's nothing difficult. It's, you know, it's a responsibility, but it's not too difficult at all.
Okay. Well, Rich, the reason I asked that is obviously you guys just hosted a class/seminar here. What, 3 days ago?
Yep.
And you guys did like a intro to canine home defense. Was that, if I have the name correct? So like, you know, for example, and you guys are doing a level the next level 2 class on that, which we'll make sure to hit on. But so in that, you know, if somebody has a dog that, again, at this type of class, I guess, can you maybe give a brief overview of what that class kind of is and what kind of requirements that you guys were kind of looking for that class?
Well, we were opening it up to people. So and we had dogs from German Shepherds, you know, Malinois, Pit Bulls. We had puppies. We had older dogs. You know what I mean? So we're opening to the people who follow our companies and need help and want to have training. One of the things that I think you'll find interesting about the way we conduct the training, and you know, Josh is great at leading out on this and really being able to read the dogs and read the clients also. But you come to a home protection seminar and everyone wants their dog to bite. You know what I mean? And it doesn't take much to get the dog to bite. But if all you do is get a dog like ramped up to want to bite everything, or to just bite a bite suit, it can go bad in multiple ways. So we really spent the day stabilizing people's dogs, and instead of trying to get the dog to bite, we tried to get the dog to not bite and to be able to be stable and be around. Like, we had people. The interesting thing is you have people who leave their dogs in the car, like, oh yeah, I can't. Let me know when it's my dog's turn. I'll bring the dog out. And it's like, what do you mean? You want a protection dog? You want this dog that you want to attack things, but you can't even bring this dog into a public setting? Like, you have a liability. You know what I mean? And the techniques, and people don't know what they don't know. And I was in that position at one time also. But that's what's great about working with these guys, because they have a way of breaking down. You know, when we lay the course out in a manner to where we can take all these individuals who have dogs who've never met each other before, and everyone's nervous and scared, and by the halfway through the day, we have all these dogs on a small table together on top of each other. They don't have to like it, but they're doing it. And then by the end of the day, you know, like my job, Josh was doing most of the coaching. I was the dude walking around in the bite suit, and dude, there was dogs that literally, like, I wasn't even doing anything. I was just standing in the bite suit, and they just wanted to smash me. They didn't want to smash me all morning, and then in the afternoon I put the bite suit on, and I'm not even moving. I'm just sitting there in it, and they're like foaming at the mouth, wanting to kill me.
These are dogs that come, you know, people, you know, they come from all walks of life, and they come from all walks of different philosophies of training. So they could be just aggressive dogs, just dogs that are aggressive towards other people that have never had any protection training, and/or dogs that are fully protection trained that come into an environment where the handler, you know, lacks the training or the knowledge to be able to communicate with these creatures, because there's a way that not only you need to handle the equipment, there's a way that you need to, you know, communicate verbally with them. There's a way that, you know, there's so much to this. So a lot of places will tick in the box sales with a protection dog, and as we know, in you know, in this lifestyle and this type of mindset, it doesn't work like that. Yeah. So, you know, we bring the dog and the handler together, and we do everything under controlled stress. Does it work? Is it necessary? And more importantly, can it be duplicated under stress? And that's when you start taking the handler and allowing that capability to be able to communicate with that dog under stress. And when the stress hits an environment like that, people stop communicating, and their dogs are lashing out, or a dog that's done protection work somewhere, you know, is targeting the bite suit and lashing out. So, I mean, it's fun. I mean, it's good. That's what we want. We want these things to happen in there, and we want to be able to work through it, right? Yep.
Well, and maybe we should add something here, too, with some context here. And again, I need to shout out Keith at MDFI for giving me some great ideas and talking points with this. So he's a big dog guy. But, you know, something you mentioned, too, and maybe to add a little context here, you know, it's more than a dog. I think it's been well documented that dogs are part of families. How much they can mean to troops overseas. I mean, my brother and those guys, they adopted a dog over there, and it's more than just a dog, but it's something that's also part of it is this dog is a weapon, but it's also has a brain. It is a living thing. So it's not just as easy as, okay, I'm going to buy a dog, and if some guy breaks in, the dog's going to attack it. It's a lot more complex than that, isn't it? There's a lot of, and again, we'll hit on the work and some of that stuff too, but something, it might not be the best idea, we'll say, is just to jump right into this saying, okay, I'm going to buy a dog that's going to attack if somebody breaks in. Like, if that's their thinking, that's probably not the greatest way to approach this, right?
Well, how do they know that the dog will do that?
Very good point.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, what training are you putting in place to have the dog make that? Is the dog making the decision, or are you making the decision? You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of this stuff. So going back to the example of what we saw in this last class, if I'm sitting in a chair right now and the dog is next to me all morning and it's cool, and I don't change anything about my demeanor, and then I sit in the chair with a bite suit on, should that dog want to attack me? If it does, and it doesn't want to attack me, it wants to attack the suit. So if you take that same idea, like, what makes you think that that dog is actually going to attack someone who breaks in the house? You know what I mean? And Josh knows way more about how you follow through with that and make that happen. But I mean, that's a big part of it is understanding, what is it that you want the dog to do and how do you get it there.
There's genetics involved. There's foundation. There's environment. A lot of the dogs. There's a big with sporting and real world working training. And our company is one of the companies that we are not in the sporting community. I was going to hold back on this, but we're not in the sporting community, and and I know a lot of guys that are in that community, and I'm not smashing them, and God bless them. I mean that truthfully, but there's a lot of philosophies that are not just preparing the handler, but preparing the dog for the situation, and there's a lot involved, and that comes from people call our company and they'll ask what differs your dogs from X company or this company, and the question is you want to look at the people, you want to look at the trainers, you want to look at the environment, because that's what makes it different, because the dogs reflect that environment, they reflect that people, they reflect that philosophy, the puppies reflect it, the breeding reflects it, the genetics reflect it, the training reflects it. It's not about what the dog can do, it's what the guys or the gals do that are putting into the dog, and that's a big difference in what's going on. Everybody's looking at the dog, but what's the family doing while the dog's going to work? There's where the training comes in. The dog doesn't stand alone, the dog is working independently by himself or herself, so that's where we come in and we start educating, the family, how they're involved and giving them training, and there's a lot to this, but yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Well, this next part here, I'm gonna hit up kind of Josh for the first part here, and then Rich, I'm gonna hit you up for the second part. So again, to everything we're talking about here, they can contact you guys. You guys will be having training and classes coming up. So this is something that that they can dive in depth. Obviously, we could talk, as we talked about before, we could talk on this for 8 hours and only cover not even the dogs, right? Yeah. But Josh, could you kind of give us, maybe just a quick general kind of overview, kind of brief of, from when the dog is born to, going to its family or unit or what have you, of kind of what kind of goes in of the work you guys do with the dogs?
Yeah. So it's simpler than it sounds, but I'll put some Gucci behind it.
Okay.
Because if you hung out on the facility with the gents, you'd everybody that comes up and hangs out for a little while, they're like, what do these guys got going on around here? So there's some guys back at the facility watching, going, what's he gonna say? But really, it's the puppies come. and they disperse amongst whoever is, you know, chosen to raise that dog up. Now, if there's been a pre-order from a client, whether it be, you know, a family, or the dog is being prepared for a law enforcement department or wherever it's going, that puppy's taken along with the other puppies and they move. Generally, you know, there's obviously brothers involved, and we have my father and myself, so they move around and just basically hang out with us, hang on the facility, work with the other dogs. We have you know, a 50-something acre facility in Canada that involves, you know, a 2-acre, 3-acre lake with chain bridges crossing, 35-foot rappel towers, villages, the largest canine tactical canine obstacle course, classroom, barracks, and all that. So we have a lot of fun things to do on the facility with them, but really the puppies just hang out with us. Animal Planet did a video, a show on us. It's playing now in Canada, Breeder of the Pack. It was playing last weekend. You can watch that, and it shows how the puppies are brought up and how they're, you know, how they move with us and go off to the law enforcement department. BBC 3 did a reality show on us called Don't Blame the Dog, that walks through, you know, the dogs, and basically they watch us bring the dogs up. You know, so the puppies are brought into the environment that they're going into. Then, you know, we do some bite work at a young age. We have young little dogs running and barking and biting and tracking, and you know, we just expose them, you know, pretty much to the environment they're going into. But again, you know, people separate the military from the law enforcement to the family protection dog, and really not to get into too much details or give away trade secrets, but really the foundation and the training is all the same. It's not separated. There's capabilities like explosive detection and combat tracking and narcotic detection and some other combative, you know, knowledge that goes into the dog at a military law enforcement level, but the foundation and all the training for family, law enforcement, military, and even in the soft community is all the same. You know, they separate it, and we discussed earlier the dogs that are being segregated away from the families when the, you know, law enforcement officers come home to from duty and not bringing the dogs. Not all departments, but some, you know, segregate them, or military personnel, and that's not the way that, you know, that's not the way the dog should be, in my opinion. It should be able to integrate in the family like a soldier should, or a law enforcement officer should, and then go to work and then come home. And the dog is the same way. You know, I know the liability issues, and we deal with it. You know, I drive home tomorrow, and I have to hit up a department in Pennsylvania, so, you know, I'm very familiar with law enforcement and military, the mindset behind the dogs and all that, and support them. But the dogs should be able to integrate in, and that's what, you know, that's what we're doing. We're constantly moving with the dogs and communicating with them, not only physically but verbally, and bringing them in environments. We have a victims of violent crime part of our business where we donate dogs to victims that have been through some stuff in their lives. So, you know, these dogs are service dogs that travel all over the, you know, the world on planes, and everywhere they go, the dogs go, right? So the exposure these dogs get is yeah, there's a lot. I mean, I joke about it on the farm, but where we go, the dogs go.
Okay.
And, you know, if we got to throw 3 in a rucksack and go, then we throw 3 in a rucksack and go.
Well, and Josh, I'm not going to make this with just Rich, so you can hop in here too. So, Rich, what about you know, when you're receiving a dog like this, what can you kind of walk us through what the process is of you know, probably integrating that into your life or family or home, and kind of the ongoings with that?
Make us look good, dude.
Yeah. When I invented this training philosophy, Mike's ready to kill me. I'm just kidding, Mike. So one of the things that I learned from Josh and Mike that was really important that they've stressed is, you know, treat the dog like it's one of the guys in the team. You know what I mean? So one of the things that I feel I've done a decent job with, you know, is staying consistent. So when I bring the dog home, we're now on our second. You know, when we bring the dog back, you know, being being consistent and diligent of holding the dog to a standard, not asking the dog to do anything that you wouldn't do, right? So I don't have the dog do frivolous things just to have the dog do them. You know, I'll do it. Now you do it. We'll do it together. Now I'm going to ask you to do it without me. You know what I mean? And just not babying them and coddling them, and you know, not that we don't have affectionate time, you know, where we're messing around and, you know, where maybe I'm laying on the floor with them or whatever, but for the most part, the reward comes through our ability to move through the community and through the environment together at all times, and this relationship of treating each other with mutual respect. Obviously you have to listen to the commands I'm giving because I understand the environment, you know, from a legal and political and you know, all the rules and regulations of our society that the dogs might not understand, that you know, we obviously understand. You know, like, you have to stop at a red light. You know, the dog doesn't understand that necessarily, you know, unless you teach him. But like, so all these things, and just being diligent and just being consistent with the dog and having that mutual respect, and the relationship becomes so much stronger. You know what I mean? Like, people will ask, like, hey dude, how will your dog do the things that it does with you? And at the same time, they're like, do you ever give your dog like affection and stuff like that? And it's like, we do. But people want the dog that can roll through all these environments, but at the same time they also want to treat the dog like it's like a toy, or you know, like a doll or something, and just, you know, be over obsessively affectionate with it, you know, to where
I don't think they're out there yet.
You know,
a lot
what I mean?
of people
Like,
aren't in this environment, so they don't, you know, they don't get it, and that's fine. You know, the people that are in the back, you know, and I mean, God bless them. I say this with love, but you know, the people that are looking in, saying, you know, you need to hug that dog, you need to pet that dog, you need to do that, right? They just don't understand. And if they, you know, and that's fine. I don't think they're supposed to understand. I think that the ones that look and see understand, and they don't have to comment. They just, you know, they just move on. So it's a different, you know, it's a completely different dog. It's a completely different handler, and you know, a lot of our
relationship.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of our handlers are females.
Yeah.
You know, our private sector clients are females. You know, there's a lot of, you know, people look at the, you know, the man, the warrior, and I'll tell you right now, we have classes at, I mean, even in the canine protection in at the compound, there's a lot of females, you know, with protection dogs, towing the line, man. They're on the wall with fully trained protection dogs, and I got some girls back home that can rock and roll, that they're probably watching this now. We do a lot of stuff with them, so, you know, they're tactical too.
Well, and here's something too is, I meant to ask this earlier and kind of forgot to, but can you talk about maybe if there's, you know, a lot of people might say, oh, do you have a German Shepherd? Do you get that a lot, Rich? Do people say, is that a German Shepherd, or how do you like your German Shepherd, or?
Yeah, people think that my dog's a German Shepherd a lot of times because it has a black coat, and then sometimes people argue with me that Belgian Malinois can't be black, but
Baden dogs can be.
But I guess Baden dogs can be whatever color you want them to be. I don't know. I just say I don't know. I was
We're
told.
Irish. We'll give you any color you want.
Yeah. Like Degs.
Like Degs.
For a price. But can you kind of maybe, either one you can do, take this on, of you know, what's maybe the difference in breeds, and maybe if there's one dog that might be better at a certain something than another, or they kind of all just personal preference, or maybe it's environmental based?
Yeah, so you got, you know, the German Shepherd's dog is a breed that, you know, the world knows. You know, it's a dog that nicely fits into, you know, you see it operationally in the law enforcement community and in the military world, which, you know, World War II, you saw those dogs, you know, beside Hitler and other theaters there. They're very nice, gentle dog, in my opinion, to push into the family, and in law enforcement, very capable. Very protective, you know, but not, you know, not a liable way. The Dutch Shepherds and the Malinois, to compare two breeds, are very similar. like very similar. There's a lot of people crossing the Malinois with the Dutchies, and you have other, you have people saying you can't cross that and that breed to this breed, but the truth is there's a lot of that going on. There's German Shepherd Malinois crosses, there's German Shepherd Dutch Shepherd crosses, and all that. But that breed is a very laid-back breed. The German Shepherd's dog, the Dutch Shepherd dog is laid back, but obviously the brindle and color is very catching. They really came out, 8 to 10 years ago into the mainstream. The Dutchies, people didn't know what they are, still don't. They see them and they're like, the heck is that thing?
Is it a hyena?
Yeah, so, but they're very, very cat-like and very capable, very agile, but they still have that, the shepherd, relaxed. The Mallies have Malinois, the Belgian Malinois have a rap that's, if you Google them as far as a pet go, it's probably going to come up, high drive, a lot of attention, very wound up, the dog that killed was part of the Bin Laden incident. So people step back, but the truth is in our opinion, those dogs they got more get up. The Malinois like to go, they got a lot of fire, but the genetics and the environment, they reflect. If you have an environment that's spun up and wound up, and you got a training philosophy that's jacking them up all the time, it's that dog's very quick to pick up on that. The Malinois for sure. So they use it a lot in the military, they use it a lot in law enforcement. But the truth is, we put all breeds into family, we put all breeds into law enforcement, we put all breeds into all communities, right? We don't separate them up.
Okay. Now, Rich, is he talking about there of kind of integrating them? When you were in the military, were there any ever dogs in canines incorporated with anything you did, or obviously that I'm assuming that's being more prevalent now with with bombs and such like that. But did you have any experience with those? And then two, where are they at now? And I'm going to give you a really long loaded question here. If you ever use them, what they're being used at now, and where do you see the potential growth and uses of canines in the military?
All right, that's actually not as hard of a question as you're thinking would be.
And then after that, tell us the meaning of life.
Okay, well, there we go. So when I was at the team, they
don't breach OPSEC.
Yeah, they didn't really use a lot of canines. Most of the canines were used by MPs. We had certain units who would have canines attached to them. More in the later years, they've been implementing them more, and I'll just leave it at this: that in the future, they're looking to start implementing them more readily throughout the community. But the canines have kind of been like the snipers. The snipers were big back in the day. Then they kind of died off as technology grew. They're like, well, we don't need these guys anymore because we have smart bombs. Then they were like, oh, you know what? The smart bombs are only so good. We actually need people on the ground to see this stuff. Let's start implementing snipers again. So I think the canines are following the same kind of wavelength as far as the progression of war goes, or combating terrorism, stuff like that. It was really popular back in the day, then it kind of fizzled out for a while, and now they're starting to re-engage the use of this asset into the community again, for obvious reasons. There's a lot of capabilities that they have that our technology doesn't even touch at this point.
And Josh, I'm hoping I don't throw you under the bus on this question, but. Is kind of we talk about there of being used and kind of going away. And you might not know this, you probably do. But can you talk about maybe the history of? Obviously, you talked about Hitler having the dogs, and there was use, and it kind of died away and came back. Do you know any of the history of how they started being used in like the military and police kind of before, and why that died out? Obviously nowadays.
I'll be honest with you. The best person for that, I should know that answer. Currently, currently I've got more answers. Historically, my father in the book.
Okay. You can just tell people I would tell you, but it's better if you read it in the book.
Yeah, and I don't just say that. I don't just say that to. Honestly, I don't just do. But my dad is. He's got a lot of knowledge. Like he's just got tons of that. So you ask him, Captain Haggerty, Mr. Clean, the head of the canine, and he just got so much knowledge. And currently, unfortunately, we can't discuss those things. But currently, there's a lot going on with the dogs, in a lot of different communities. And it's not hard to find out. All you gotta do is Google some things, and whether it's true or not true. There's dogs popping up with some videos of here and there and all that. But historically, as far as World War II and Hitler and all that, there was a lot of things the Germans were doing that we grabbed a hold of, and the dogs were one. And and again, the viewers feel free to tap into the email at Baden K9. We're a company that obviously if you ask some questions and we can answer them, or my father can answer them. He's the guy to go to, Mike. That's no problem at all.
Okay.
If you want to get converted to Christianity, no problem at all either, man. That's what we do.
Okay, awesome. And here's kind of why I'm thinking of this here. And again, I'm throwing you guys the hard stuff right now, and I apologize for it. But no softballs here on Practically Tactical. No softballs. No. So, are you guys familiar with any maybe cases or I'm going to break this up into two questions. Are you familiar with maybe any cases or like case studies or examples of dogs being used in home defense that a lot of people might necessarily be this something like this, oh, it's too much, or whatever, again, uninformed, we'll say, conclusions they're coming to. But are you guys kind of familiar with anything that is just readily available and out there that people could look at?
Yeah, what about that one with the you guys were talking about the other day with the girl who thought the one who's like kidnaps?
1 second. What are you talking about?
The one where the girl that was
We gotta watch what we say here then.
Oh, is that?
Yeah.
I thought that was on the news.
Which one? Anyways, are you talking about case studies of people that?
I'm just asking of cases. Yeah, it can be any. I was just curious, or has there been any any?
Well, no, this one the dog got an award.
What are you talking about, man? Tell me, because I talked to you a lot,
yeah,
so I'm like,
so sorry, we're always
say?
talking. So there was a recent one where there was a I believe it was a Rottweiler that was out in the yard and it was hanging out with all the kids, and all the kids in the neighborhood were playing, and the dog would just run circles around him and kind of hang out with the kids and almost hurt him a little bit. And a car came up, and a man got out and ran up and he grabbed a little girl and started running off with the girl, and the girl screamed, and the dog mauled the dude. And then they thought that the guy was trying to kidnap the girl, which he was, but it turns out they thought it was some random person. It turns out that it was her father, who had a restraining order or whatever, and was trying to come, kidnap the child. So anyway, here's this dog hanging out in the front yard. Someone comes to grab the kid and run away with it. The dog recognizes what's happening and attacks the man. And the dog actually got like the city's, honorary citizen, award. And even though it was the dog, and it didn't get, no charges were pressed or anything like that. And the guy got arrested for breaching his, what's the
protection order?
Yeah, like protection order or whatever like that. So, that's one example, and I think I can share that. The dog got an award. I think I can share it. Yeah.
Well, and I'm sure, Josh, you have a bunch of examples on this. But here's one I'll throw to you then. When somebody is looking at evaluating, hey, should I add a dog? Should I not? Or in that process, how important are like local, we'll say city, county, and state laws? Is that ever anything that has to be looked at in regards to something like this, or are most areas pretty open to this, or is there any,
Well, that's a good. That would vary. I don't have all the answers for everything for all of them, but here's what our company, the philosophy does is the drills that we bring the clients through, and the stability and the controlled drills allow the opportunity that if there's a bite, okay, we don't teach the dogs to bite. Dogs know how to bite. We don't take claim to that. There's bite training or teaching a dog to bite. You just simply can't claim it. God has designed these creatures to do that. Man has taken claim to it, as my dad would say. So we communicate, when and hows and other things, but the stability drills that we put together can demonstrate that there was a need for that dog to come out. So if there is a bite in the community, outside of specific breeds like Pit Bull Terrier restrictions and all these other breeds that you're not allowed to have, then we can show you and demonstrate in front of the court to be that the stability and control drills allow the audience to see the control, and also if there's a bite, then there's obviously a direct attack or a need for that dog, because they just don't bite. The only time that they're disobedient, and I might be going on, and the viewers might be going, what the heck does this kid talk?
Keep going. This is great.
But, a protection dog, you should not even know it. Okay, you shouldn't see. You might look and go, that's a Dutchie, that's a Malinois, that's a German Shepherd dog, but you should not be able to tell that dog is a protection dog. Okay, because you can look, and I can say, I can look at his hat and look at his shirt and look at the beard and move. Or if I'm going through the airports, guys will scan and look around and see 5'11s and other things, and pretty much get an idea of who's who in the zoo and looking. And you can do that if you're in the community with the dogs as well. But if they're barking, lashing out, biting, pulling the handler down the road, being disobedient in any way, that's not a protection dog. A protection dog, you pretty much can't see. So we bring the handler and the dog through those drills for a lot of different reasons. For them, because it's a capability that's a necessity in the combative environment, and two, to which we've done is demonstrate the stability, not only in the dog but the handler.
Yeah.
People that law enforcement officers, private sector clients. Yeah. I know you want to say something here, brother. Go for it.
Well, Josh isn't familiar with all of our laws and regulations here in the United States, obviously being from Canada. But depending on where you live in the United States, there's different rules and regulations, licensing things for having a dog like this. Certain states, like up in the Northeast, regulate how many teeth your dog can have. Otherwise, it's an assault canine. And you can't conceal your canine. You have to open walk this dog.
I was tracking you for a minute. I'm like, what the heck's he saying?
So check with your local, codes and just make sure that you can have fully loaded teeth in your dog, and if you can conceal it in your car, or if you're allowed to take it out of your house. This is something to look into. It's different in every state.
The nice thing about the dog, though, is, all kidding aside, is that you're able to move, more freely than you can with other weapon systems, right? So the dog is a deterrency, a detaining, and a detecting capability, and it has those capabilities, and you can move, in and around in the public. With service dogs, you move. All where you go, the dog goes, right? And not everybody wants to have a gun. Not every wife or husband at home wants to have that type of defense. So the dog is an asset.
Yeah, that brings up a great point too. Is that a lot of dogs are trained, and for some cases it has to be this mandated by a department, but a lot of the dogs that I've seen at Baden are multi-purpose canines. You know what I mean? And a lot of these dogs can be trained up to service you for a medical, need. They can do tracking, but they can also do the protection work, or the detection and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of these dogs are completely capable of multitasking or taking on multiple roles. There's a lot of practices out there where we shrink it down to think it's only capable of doing one thing. But from what I've seen, that's not necessarily the case at all.
You want to bring them out. You want to bring. Yeah. You don't take a child and you just, you want to bring those capabilities out of them for sure. Yeah. The tracking, the detection, the protection, and all that stuff. You want to bring it out. It's there. You want to bring it all out, and you don't separate it. Whether the client uses it or not. I mean, families get a big kick out of tracking. You have families with children, and their children, they go up north, and maybe they're at a cabin, and their dog's there, and you have a child that runs away in a bush. We dealt with years ago Sean Hornbeck, which was he was found, praise the Lord. But if you Google Sean Hornbeck, basically found, Baden dogs were integrated into that whole situation, and families. I have 3 children, and I get it when a family wants a dog with the tracking capability. They don't understand it. They think it's kind of like an emergency service job only, but the truth is that that's the job of the parents, right? And if they have that capability and it's there, and you travel, and it's just there's so much to it. I mean, but it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's a lot of fun for the family too.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of gave me a perfect segue there, because I think while looking back, Rich, for coming up on the show, kind of reading some stuff, is you talked about, let's say, it's a weapon, it's a force multiplier, and you had talked about it's really important, how does, let's say, you're doing it in some sort of, with a firearm, and, it's important to know how does that dog know to attack the right person, or, how, is this kind of more of like you and the dog as a team, or is it kind of like you try to act as one?
No, of course it's you and the dog. See, the difference between the dog and typical weapon systems that we have is the dog can think and move, where most weapon systems we have to manually direct it because we have to be holding it. Where the dog, you can send it out on your behalf. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's something that you would be utilizing to work together as a team. So if we, for me personally, from a tactical standpoint, things that don't make sense is sending the dog and standing there. Like I'm going to send the dog, and I'm either going to move to, protect my family, to get out of there, to address a second or third threat, right? To move to where my firearm is, or to upgrade my fighting system, whatever it is, whether if I have just my fists and I see something else that I could utilize, maybe I'm moving to something else to upgrade myself, or just to get out of there. You know what I mean? So we can't treat it one-dimensional and just send the dog off to do its thing by itself, and we just stand there. It doesn't serve us any good, because if the dog gets taken out, then now I'm in the same position I was just in before the whole thing started. It gives us space, it gives us time, it's a deterrent.
And the philosophy you train under that allows the dog, because not to smash the sporting community again, but you're sending the dog out, and the way that you mentor, not taking claim to the bite, but communicate with that creature how to fight man, basically. Not basically, that's what you're doing, and they can fight real smart naturally. And or they can get hurt or killed very quickly. And a lot of the philosophies are, you see them, you Google dog bite or canine bite, and you see these dogs just driving in hard and hitting hard, and they're hitting them in areas, not to get too deep into training techniques, but there's a way that a man fights, and we're responsible for how we communicate with that creature, how to combat. And if you got a family, you need that creature to fight smart, because you're going to be working, trying to, go to work and your drills with your family. So that dog has to be smart, and there's never just a singular threat. There's always multiples. It's never just the dog runs out and bites one guy. There's always multiples. So he's, if it's one dog singularly working, he's got a lot of work to do, and you as a handler or an instructor or a trainer have a lot of work to do to protect that dog. whether it be in a family or let's get even more in depth.
Yeah.
And step on toes. Law enforcement. Like there's a lot of Baden's always been a facility that has never came out. Really, we've always been closed, and we're closed to a lot. We appreciate OPSEC, and we hold it. We've worked under the Secrecy Act, and I don't say that on a pedestal. We have, and we have recently started getting on all this Facebook and Twitter and all these other things, which has been real hard for us to do. But my wife gave me trouble. Yeah, my wife the other day, she's like, "You gotta get off Facebook, man. We're in Florida and it's hot. It's get off Facebook." So, but we're starting to come out a little bit and saying, "Hey, that doesn't work, and let us show you how." And the boys in the community with some background and combative background, the good Lord is putting the right people and the places together at the right time. So, I'm pretty sure if you guys stay tuned, there's going to be a lot of stuff coming up really soon with some real neat training and books and videos.
Yeah, we got some stuff we're working on together. Some videos and training aids and things like that. In addition to the seminars that we're going to be working on over the course of the next year. That should be pretty exciting and really open up people's minds and open up the doors to utilizing, integrating the combatives, firearms, home protection with the canine asset, that you can use from your family standpoint. Because again, the tactics from law enforcement, they're trying to detain someone. If you go to arrest somebody and you bring them in and they have, half their arms ripped off and half their legs ripped off and all this stuff, and it's like, dude, this guy wouldn't come out of a bush. Like, you didn't have to nearly kill the dude. Like, we just want him to come out of the bush, So those dogs, their training techniques are different, and plus people don't fight canine cops because if you fight the dog, it's like fighting an officer. Well, people do resist.
They fight.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how you don't scream and move if a dog's biting you, but but the point is, if you attack the dog, it's like attacking an officer, and you're looking at jail time for assaulting an officer.
More holes.
or you get more holes. You know what I mean? So the delivery, the regulations and the rules that the police go by, the dog is to detain you, right? Mm-hmm. We don't, in home protection, it's illegal to do security rounds. You can't shoot someone in the leg, and say, well, I just shot him in the leg because I just wanted to hurt him, because I didn't want to have to kill him. You're going to get in trouble because they're going to say, well, your life wasn't in danger if you're just shooting to hurt him. You know what I mean? So it's the same kind of thing. If someone's in your home and you're launching this dog on someone, I would imagine in court you're most likely going to wind up facing the same questions. Was your life in danger? And did you take the appropriate force to protect yourself? And, in that case, if your life really is in danger, you don't want your dog, adhering to certain rules that law enforcement have to hold to. You want your dog, doing what it needs to do to protect your family just as you would, to protect your family. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Makes sense, right?
Yes.
But I mean, bringing it together as far as if the countries or the environment allows to bring the home protection capability with the shooting and whatever else with the dog implemented into that is where you start bringing the philosophies together.
Yeah.
What you do and Ben does, and yeah.
Well, and we kind of talked about here earlier, but you guys actually have, because you talked about here for an upcoming class, April 25th and 26th in Orlando, Florida. What are you guys doing on those days?
Getting bit. Well, you are.
Yeah, I am. I'm getting bit.
The first class was, it was when you come into a protection class, you have all different walks of life with dogs and handlers. So you plan to go in and just educate people on, proper technique of equipment and handling, and some people that are at a higher level got to sit through it and learn. But then this class was really just bringing the students in and working on stability, control, obedience under stress and distraction, right? And having them focus. And we bring everything tight. we don't use muzzles. We don't, if dogs are fighting and dogs are scrapping, we take control of the situation. That's a philosophy, right? That's how my dad taught me, and we don't. And you cross your fingers sometimes. That's how Christians are. We came in front of. I say this very humbly. We did our safety brief in front of the class, and because you have to, because you're dealing with fighting dogs. Everybody can laugh and joke around, but we got holes in us.
Yeah.
My dad says there's two types of handlers: those that have been bit and those that are going to be bit. So, but our safety brief is the medical support behind that, and a prayer. And we go in. We're Christian business. And we don't push people in it. We don't throw it in your face. We found Christ on our knees, So we bring people together of all different walks of life and bring the stability that we all have to work at, and the control and the obedience in the dogs, and get them to a place where under stress they can communicate, and those dogs will hold. And now the next class we take them for, and we start getting into more combative protection work, multiple targets. Multiple threats. What does a handler do at that moment? While the dog is becoming a distraction device, where does the handler go? Where does the family go? Where does the wife go? Where do the children go? And we told people that came this time, bring your wife, bring your children. My wife and kids were with me the whole class, the whole course, in there moving around while dogs are moving. So it's a family.
Yeah, there's a lot of
protection.
Kids there.
Yeah, there's a lot of kids there.
Tons of kids there.
So it's the families are there. The dogs are integrated around. It's kind of like a family integrated church. It's everybody's there. Keep that out there.
It's a potluck afterwards.
Right, brother.
Well, I mean, to me, it seems like this is a great. It seems like if kind of what we talked about before with the, weapon and a dog. So is that kind of more of that geared towards that? This next coming class?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, implementing having the dog work, and then also starting to get, just like when you do the firearms training, where you start to train people how to move, shoot, and communicate. People get sucked into the gun and they just stare at the paper or they stare at the steel, and they get this tunnel vision. Everything comes in, right? To then have someone talk. And when we do our movement and communication classes, we're not teaching people how to, the tactics necessarily of the leapfrogging and all that kind of stuff, because if you're not working with people who understand that same tactics as you, it's kind of irrelevant. But what we're doing is we're breaking people out of the habit of getting sucked in and tunnel vision on the target, and getting them to start thinking in multiple planes. I can engage a target, be laser focused with my sights and the points performance, but I can still be disengaged enough that I can look around, take in the information that the environment's given me, and communicate with other people. So here you see people do the bite work, and everyone's focused in watching the dog, and it's like, why are you watching the dog? Watch the threat. You're watching the dog. Well, what's happening else in the environment? Where do you move to? What do you do? Like, is there another attacker? And
a lot of people watch the dog, exactly. the dog, because some people truly haven't been exposed to aggression or violence, and at the end of the lead, that's, as my dad says, pure raw aggression.
Yeah.
A dog that is going in, there's a lot of aggression, there's a lot of violence. So when you bring somebody into that, people have never been exposed to that, are
kind of shocked.
They're looking at it, so you bring them through it. You bring them through it slowly, and you educate them. This is what's happening, and the dog knows it. Dogs are predator. They're opportunists. They're at the end of the lead. Nobody's saying nothing to me. I'm going to be yanking, pulling, trying to get some. You know what I mean? And we start developing that familiarization with the dog and the handler, and it's a lot of fun. We get it. It's not ticking the box. It's not a tick in the box system. You walk into a protection course and you might have, people with experience. The one gent showed up from a facility that he purchased. I won't say his name. We nicknamed him here, but he bought a fully trained protection dog, and he was brought into a scenario where the dog was turning on him. Wow. And he didn't know what to do. He said he asked for help a couple times. I started laughing. I got to hold myself because we're used to it. You know what I mean? We're used to all the dogs.
Yeah.
But it's a protection dog that they purchased, and the training that's involved that goes with that is you're dealing with aggression, right? And just bringing them to that, let them know how to communicate with the dog at that moment, and give correction. The correction is where people don't know how to give it verbally or physically anymore. You don't want to say anything to anybody because you hurt their feelings. If you say something too loud, or you look at them wrong, or we can get on a text message, and that's okay. We'll launch one out at you, but you got to be careful of how you posture out against. And the dog you can't do that with, right? It's coming out. You got to tell it, knock it off. You got to give the proper communication, the correction if need be. The level of severity on the correction is based on what's happening. You bring them through that. It brings them out of their shell, and we start to go to work. It's real therapeutic.
And that kind of goes back on what I was trying to say earlier, as far as treating the dog like one of your teammates versus treating it like a fluffy, puffy toy or something. And people have a hard time with the correction of well, I can't train my dog like that. I talk to so and so store, and they want me to give the dog a treat every time it does something for me, or I give it a toy. And now we start building this training philosophy based on a bartering system. You know what I mean? Or bribery.
Bribe.
You know what I mean? And it's like, no, dude, I'm asking you to do something. There's a reason I'm asking you to do this. I need you to work with me, because when we go do this under stress, if you don't listen, we're both potentially going to be killed, or we're both going to get hurt, or we're both going to be out of here. You know what I mean? Whether you're talking about getting kicked out of the airport, or you're talking about being attacked, or you're talking about working on a high obstacle, or you're mountain climbing, or something like that with the dog, and you need it to be obedient so the two of you don't fall off the cliff or fall off the rappel tower or whatever. And there's not this room for this this dialect, or this I don't want to hurt the dog's feelings. It's like, hey, dude, we're in this together. Do it because we need you to do it. You know what I mean?
There's a need.
There's a need there, exactly.
It's not. There's no ribbon. There's no point system. It's this dog is going into a family, so there's families that are just using preventative measures to integrate a dog into their family, and then there's families that have direct threats on their family and have been through things where something's happened, and there's a potential of it happening again. And these dogs and the training that's involved there's no points, there's no ribbons. We don't have papers. We don't have pedigrees. You call our company, and people say, is it titled here or titled there? And God bless them. I don't mock them or smash them, because if that's what you find, I'm borrowing this from my dad, by the way. If that's what you find peace in life to do, then do it. But in our community, a piece of paper does not demonstrate the capability. Mm-hmm. It doesn't. You will quickly find out who's who in this community, and it is a very small community. This community with the I use the word tactical lightly. My dad doesn't like too much, but I'm going to use it. Tactical community. It's been thrown around, for years, and the business has been around for many, many years. But in this community, it's very small, and the dogs, someday your dogs will act. I mean, our dogs are on the streets in law enforcement, military, and the private sector. So yeah, there's a lot of incidences where these dogs are responding to their training a lot. Sort of.
To kind of hit what you said on there, so I mean, basically, Rich, for the equivalent in this industry is, paper chasers, those that take the classes for the certificate, but kind of miss the whole point of going to the training. That type of thing, right?
Yeah, it's very similar, But the thing is this is what I like about the dog. With what you can and can't do with that dog, you know what I mean? Like, you can talk a great game, like in the firearms industry, you can talk a good game, and then it's like, if you never see me at the range, who knows, right? But with in the canine world, people see your dog, you know what I mean? People see your dog, whether it's actually doing the job, the work, that you claim it's trained for, or in just daily behavior. You know what I mean? If you have this dog like that's super highly trained, and then you come back to your car and your seats are ripped inside out, it's like, okay, well, maybe you're not at the level with that dog that you thought you were, and I'm humbled too, because like I said, we just brought a new dog in. We just got our second dog a few months ago, and I'm working through some of those challenges again that like going back to day one, like housebreaking the dog's been living in the woods in Canada for the past.
I thought it was housebroken.
Year. Whatever. He's like, yeah, this one's good to go. I'm probably screwing it up. I'm probably screwing it up.
Dude, it's handler error.
Yeah, it's my fault. It probably is. It's like dogs losing ears. It's my fault.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed. But we're all working through that stuff. But you can't hide it. Like, I can talk a big game, and then you see my dog piss on the carpet, and it's like I have to own that. Like, I can't talk my way out of this. I can blame it on the dog all I want. I didn't put in the time to communicate what I want that dog to do efficiently enough at this point, so that's why it pissed on my carpet for the 6th time. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is, and people see that and they're like, yeah, this dude's full of crap. You know what I mean? That dog's not trained up like he says it is. I guess it's trained up in that one thing, and it just happens to be the most badass thing on the list, but...
Yeah, there's a I don't steal this from them, I give them the glory, but there is a unit in the world, and they have a saying that says facta non verba, and that's, if I say it properly, one of the gents is probably watching, but it's deeds not words. Show me, don't talk about it. So if your dog is doing something, what are you going to do about it?
Yep.
Are you going to go give it a correction? Are you going to give it? You're going to praise it? If it doesn't want to go over the jump, can you go over the jump with it, or can you communicate a way to get over the jump? The handler is so involved, and we're quick to use anger in the aggression and get mad at the dog or get frustrated, and it's all part of it. And that's the philosophy helps. We all deal with it, we all struggle with it, but helps discipline that, and not allow it to saturate into the work, which is what we call it, the work. You can't get angry. That you have to stow that, and if there's aggression involved, then you have to put the anger away, and you have to be disciplined and train and communicate through it, because the creature is living, breathing, responds to anger differently than aggression. It'll respond to it, and it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. I watched it flip out today and get angry, so I just thought I'd
Did I? When did I flip out? I have episodes every now and then.
Well, I mean, kind of what we talk about too. A lot of this, kind of what we talk about with your upcoming classes, and we harp on it here too. It sounds like you got to have a plan. You got to have a plan for whatever's going, whether it be the home defense or anything else, or family and integration. Yeah. You got to have a plan. There has to be some thinking going on involved with this, right?
Yeah, I would say that is more true, is having the ability to think versus having the plan, because the plan will never stay the same, because you can't predict what in real life the attack or the situation will be, right? You can try to be prepared or proactive, but you can't necessarily lock down the plan, you know what I mean? Because it's never going to happen the way. But you can learn how to, I think, and identify and make calculated decisions based on what you're taking in or what you're perceiving. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we're going with it.
Okay. We'll throw you a scenario here, guys. So let's say somebody's watching or listens on podcast, gets a dog, gets into the home, how's your package of training with it? What's like the maintenance, and maybe that's not even the right term, but what's the ongoing? Obviously, I'm assuming it's probably just like firearms. Is you need to have that ongoing training. Are these skills in the dogs and the handler perishable? What's like the ongoing training process with that, with having a dog like this at home?
Yeah, I would say like anything, you want to go get. You want to come back, and we don't really have a specific, the sale is included with this many times a year, because not everybody can do that. So, we promote it. We have courses that we stay in contact with the clients, but yeah, they're perishable. But the philosophy gives you the capability to take it home with you and not have to truly rely on us for everything. Your real training environment is your home, is your everyday life.
Yeah.
So you don't have to, okay, well, I got to go back to Baden K9, which, I mean, you do and you should, and we promote it. We have clients that I fly, once every 2 months, sometimes once a month, and service them with dog training and upkeeping and training and all that, because they can, and it's good. Not everybody can do that. So, but the philosophy, again, repeating myself, allows you and your family or yourself to take what you learn and then integrate it into, not without labor, because you have to labor it, into your lifestyle in your home, which is perishable if you're not consistent with it, like anything.
Yeah.
We have people come back in 3 months, and we had a client at the class this course, and the dog was lashing out and barking out and trying to fight dogs, and it was a trained, we use the word fully lightly, but it was a fully trained protection dog, and the dog was just all over the place. So there's a lot of responsibility going back with the dog and being consistent, and taking what you learn, which is perishable, back home with you, and every single day. There's programs you can follow. We have in the books. There's 3 books in the books here. The feeding and the training and the maintenance and all that it's in there pretty much. But what do you want to say about that?
I just want to add something in as far as a philosophy goes. And this doesn't necessarily stay only with dog training, but people generally like to our whole life we graduate things, right? We graduate, grades, we graduate school, we get diplomas, we get certificates. People like to feel like they've completed the task, and it gives them closure. So when people ask me when is your dog done training, or have you completed all the dog's training, or when do you finish your training? Is that when, et cetera, all different ways you can word that. And my response to them is, the dog's trained enough that we're certified to move through the community together, but the dog's never done training. I was like, this is a relationship. We're constantly learning. If you talk to Mike, the founder of Baden, he's still learning from the dogs every day, and he's been doing this for over 40 years. So at what point are you at your maximum potential for firearms training, or for fitness, or the relationship with your spouse? Like these kind of things that are based on relationships and skill levels, you can't really put an end mark on it, in my opinion. I mean, you can technically do it, but I think it's false. So instead of wording a question, and this is how the questions come, but as coaches and things like that, I feel like our response should be, well, it's not when it's finished, it's, well, give me a goal that you have to reach, right? What is a goal? Give me a goal that you would like to reach, because the training is never going to be done, but we can set a specific goal and we can reach that. So you can now move on to and build off of that foundation. But that's one of those questions that we hear a lot, whether it's coming from fitness, martial arts, from firearms, or the canine stuff, that I think is just a mentality correction that we need to help assist our clients with.
Okay. How much?
Sorry, I didn't on that, but I think it's just something that should be addressed.
No. How much, Rich, kind of, I mean, going off what you said there, is how much time do you spend with your dogs per day, and what's the amount of work that you put in every single day with your dogs?
All right. So the work, right, is most of the work that I put in with my dog is just being with me. You know what I mean? So when we're going out, all right, I go to the car wash, the dog rolls out with me, comes in the truck, and we're working through obedience, and obedience is simply the communication and adhering to what we need to do to perform the task.
You take your dog Christmas shopping, I see.
Yeah, dude, the dog goes everywhere. So we roll out, and the dog's rolling with me, and through that, then when we go, oh, Mike's gonna kill me. But then when we go do the actual training, there's two parts to this, because when we go do the training, it will reflect in that, and we can work through situations better. Unless I'm training with Mike, because Mike knows the secret to make me look like it's my first day working with a dog every single time I see him, and he likes to humble me for like the first 4.5 days out of 5, you know, and then like, the last half day we're buddies all of a sudden. But like, I know he's doing it because he cares, but it's great because it helps me find the holes in my training. But being consistent with the dog on a daily basis and just having it, like, I don't need to run my dog for 3 hours a day because it has a mental stimulation just being in the environment with me and moving with me, and we're communicating all day long. So it's not necessarily like I have to have the dog jumping on things and climbing things and tracking and all that stuff. It's the relationship's there and it's with me, so it's somewhat satisfied.
Okay. Well, is there anything that we kind of missed here? Is there anything in regards to K9 that definitely needs to be put out there, Josh, that we missed or skipped over there?
No, I'm just honored to be here, man. Look forward to maybe someday doing it again, getting into more details. But no, we actually covered a lot. I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Well, we did go about a half an hour. We're about an hour and a half. So
this, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. But Rich, is there anything there that anything else you want to throw in there in regards to the K9 aspect?
I would just like to throw in a few shameless plugs a little bit. Josh is actually heading, I know it's really short notice, Josh is heading to New Jersey. So if the people are listening to this like tonight, he's heading to New Jersey for a small seminar in the Wall Township area in central New Jersey. So if people are listening and they want to come train with him, I won't be there, but some good friends of mine, some law enforcement guys, another buddy who introduced me to them in the very beginning, they're going to be hosting a small seminar there. So if you're around this weekend in New Jersey or New York or Pennsylvania, send them an email. Send Josh an email. It should be linked below. And if you want to come and train with them, it'd be a great opportunity. In March, the weekend of March 7th and 8th, we're going to be doing a NACA combative fight system seminar here in Orlando, and I'm flying in the two founders of that fight system from Germany all the way to Florida to do that seminar. That will be an awesome seminar for laying a foundation for combatives to then come into the April 25th and 26th K9 seminar that we're going to do with Josh coming back to Orlando. So check out the websites, and we'd love to have more people get involved and train with us, and in person, not just through videos and things like that. It's always much more rewarding for us to work with people in person, but we appreciate the opportunity to be featured on your show again, and we look forward to doing it again in the future sometime.
No, like I said, Josh, you want to come back on, and we'll dive more into we could do a use of force show or something like that, and just focus on that. No, I think that would be absolutely fascinating. And while we're out there, though, we need to make sure, obviously, to congratulate Rich Graham on his big sponsorship that he just got. For those that are following him on Instagram, so big Under Armour endorsement. That's awesome of that. So congrats on that. Well earned.
My stunt double got the endorsement.
For those that aren't familiar, again, you need to go make sure you follow Rich here on Instagram, which is TRIFITKB, TriFitKB, and he has a lookalike guy in what kind of catalog was it? A fishing catalog? What
it was some fishing magazine, and I just put it out as a joke. I didn't think everyone would take it seriously, but apparently I have a lookalike in the fishing magazine. So now everyone thinks I'm sponsored by Under Armour, but I've had dudes do stolen valor with being me in a wedding, claiming they were Rich Graham in a wedding with a Trident on and all that stuff. So now I'm stealing valor from fishermen. Around people.
Payback, right? But yeah, we're gonna wrap it up here, guys. And again, thank you guys for going along with me here. And you know, I hope we at least put a good cover blanket over this subject. Obviously, something to me that is extremely interesting. Again, I think Rich talked about too is I think this will be growing in whatever type of operations we're talking about here. Is again, I think it's a fantastic force multiplier, another weapon, however you want to word it. So thanks for coming on, guys, and just kind of giving a general overview of this. I found it extremely interesting, and I know I learned a lot.
Awesome. Awesome. Good to hear. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So, Josh, went to you. So, your website is badenk9.com, BADENK9.com, right?
That's right.
And you're now on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Yeah.
Did you get your Pinterest set up yet? Are you on Pinterest yet?
I don't know what it is.
Baby steps. Baby steps.
For all those guys out there, everything / Baden K9, that's where it's at. Then, of course, I should mention, too, Rich, you look a lot like this guy on YouTube called Von Helmet. I don't know if that's your
stunt double.
Your other stunt double.
Gotta watch out. That guy's tricky.
So what we talked about with your upcoming videos, obviously that'll be released on your YouTube channel, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we'll have some information coming out. But like I said, it's that's working with a good friend of mine, a training partner named Greg Mahovich out of New Jersey, and we've been training side by side since we were 16, 17 years old, and he's very, very well respected in the martial arts industry. So we've kind of teamed up and integrated combative movements with shooting tactics. So it's a great video integrating the two, the mobility, martial arts mobility integrated with firearms training via pistol and carbine. So it's going to be how to change levels, change body positions fluently, slick or with full body armor on. And I think it'll be a great video for people to educate themselves with.
Okay. I do want to hit up just kind of a few comments here. I appreciate everybody out there who shared that. We do have a comment from Daniel West. Baden K9 is the best out there, the only stop for your personal protection dog. So we have another comment from Eric K. Hey Rich, love the dog that you have. Saw the vids where you we're repelling with him. I think we're repelling with him. I think you were just getting started with him, maybe not. I don't remember.
Yeah, that was the dog's second time repelling, so.
Okay.
Did pretty good.
We do have a question here from Hawaii Volcano Squad. Can you comment on Schnauzer's question mark? And he says German police dog.
Yeah.
I don't. Any general overview thoughts on them, or?
Yeah, we worked them. Yeah, I was young, but my dad's worked them. I can remember a few Schnauzers growing up. They're, and everybody has their preference. They've got a name for themselves in the community. I don't think they're using them much anymore. My dad would probably say there's probably no more good ones out there. People would argue that. I've seen them work as a young boy. I've taken bites off them. But again, I'm not. My dad knows the breed specifics. I'm to go back into history of them, but capable. I've seen them work. Are we game to work with Schnauzers? Oh yeah, we're game to work with anything. The truth is, you show up with a dog and you don't know where it came from or what it does. I've seen dogs that, do things. I've seen Labradors work and protection work and do amazing things in it. I've seen what was Pig Bear? What's Shannon's?
It's a Chihuahua pug. He's in one of our videos.
Yeah.
He's vicious. You gotta watch your shoelaces around that dog.
Well, I was thinking.
For sure.
I was thinking maybe you could start some undercover, maybe I could be your first student of some undercover, I'll bring a wiener dog, and that's kind of like some undercover secret op, Blackwater dog to where nobody sees it coming,
And Blackwater's not too secret.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. No, please.
You guys offer any trainings like that? Killer wiener dogs?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay.
Then kind of another, I think, question, yes, comment, and I think we kind of covered this too from Eric K. Can a defensive dog be that and a good family pet at the same time? I think that is always the goal, correct?
Yeah, that is the goal.
Yeah. Well, that's it for about comments and questions there, so we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. And again, thank these guys for coming on and kind of really opening at least my eyes and hopefully a lot of other people's eyes kind of about, I almost said weapons platform, but that wouldn't be the correct term now, would it, Rich?
Not necessarily a platform, maybe a system, I don't know. But
I don't know. But again, thank you guys for coming on. I really appreciate it. And for everybody out there listening and watching, please go check out the Gun and Gear Review podcast and the Firearms Radio Network. They also have a YouTube channel. Go check out Ryan and what they're doing over there. A fantastic show. We just did some long-range stuff. And Rich, I actually meant to ask you this too because I was out in Idaho this summer, and then you were out in Sun Valley like 2 months later doing a long-range class. How did my fellow Idahoans treat you? Good?
Yeah, they were awesome. Idaho was way cooler than I had anticipated it being.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that was my first time out there. I loved it. We're actually going back to do another one of those precision marksman courses coming up in a few months, and we're going to have the guys carry their guns up into those mountains this time instead of driving the side-by-side. So it's interesting. We're going to take it to the next level, so it'll be fun.
Awesome. And for all those here, we will launch your feedback here at Practically Tactical, so please send us any compliments, feedback, guest suggestions, topic suggestions to nick@firearmsradio.tv. Please give us a review on iTunes as well, as it really helps us spread the show on iTunes, really help out really good shows like this one here, find new audiences. Also, please find us on Facebook, along with also, please find Trident Fitness Tactical on Facebook. As of course, it's a new Facebook page now, right? Of the Baden K9 Facebook page. Is that new now?
Newish, yeah.
Newish.
We're new to it, yeah, that's for sure.
Well, find them. Again, thank you guys for coming on. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So as always, guys and gals, we thank you for tuning in. We thank you for listening. We greatly appreciate it, and we'll see you next week for another episode of Practically Tactical.